Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Third competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Up and in! 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
Let's do that. I'm Joey Mack. Thanks for being with us. H.J. Cohn, Senior Associate Athletic Director for the Duck Athletic Fund, is coming up. He's got updates on ticket availability for the rest of the Oregon football season. Tickets are starting to go quick for this UCLA game. If you haven't gotten your tickets for Oregon coming out of the bye week back at Autzen Stadium, I'm telling you, tickets going fast. We're going to talk with H.J. about that. Oregon just wrapped up on the practice field if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour. Some news and notes after practice. Bo Nix talked an awful lot about his connection with Troy Franklin, and man, what a great catch Troy Franklin made. Continues to emerge as a big play receiver. Bo Nix with some great stuff to say about him. We've got that for you coming up later on in the show today, in addition to Bucky Irving and Troy Franklin himself. But last night, Dan Lanning, the Oregon football head coach, met with the media. We have him for you to kick off today's show. I'm going to get out of the way. Let's hear from the head coach, Dan Lanning.
Into it, it's fun to come off of a big win. Talked about it before. There's a lot of things that I think we can improve on. I'm going to move quickly here. It's a quick turnaround when you have a night game. Quickly moving into a good team in Arizona. I think they have some of the best talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball for them. Coach Fish does a really good job of mixing up looks, but they have really talented wideouts. Their quarterback's playing at a really high level right now, so they present a unique challenge for us, and we're excited to get down to Tucson and attack them.
You said before that you feel like you've learned something about your team after every game. What do you think you learned about your guys on Saturday night?
It's a continually growing process for us, but overall, I think that we can see we can win in a variety of ways. Obviously we ran the ball really well and didn't connect on some of the shots we had downfield that we had done the week before. So the fact that we can be a team that does things in a variety of ways and still have success, I think that's a positive for us. You can't take away one thing and limit our ability to be successful. I still want to see that sustained focus, that level of play through 4 quarters, and it really doesn't matter who's on the field for us. That standard doesn't change, so I want to see us continue to develop our roster where we can play at a high level throughout the game. But we're getting there, and we're building.
Yeah, you already mentioned their quarterback's pretty good. He's thrown for almost 900 yards the last 2 weeks. What do you do to slow that guy down, and is it mostly what he does, or is it also a product of their talent at wide receiver?
Yeah, I think this is maybe the most talented team we've played so far at wideout. They have really, really talented wideouts, but I think this quarterback really can play well. He throws lasers. He throws the ball on rhythm, on a dart, and he doesn't need a big window to be able to attack. He's able to extend plays with his feet. So this is a really good challenge for us. There hasn't been a lot of teams that have really slowed them down offensively. They've only maybe hurt themselves a couple times, to be honest. So they've done a really good job. They get the ball downfield. They take long shots. So this will be a really good challenge.
In your offseason evaluation and preparation for Bo and what he was going to bring to the table for you guys, Dan, obviously he had mobility. You defended him. You knew it very well. But beyond the sacks and the not taking sacks here so far, how do you attribute that he is both leading the country, I think, in red zone passing yards, and also one of the highest rushers at quarterback? Those are usually two things that don't necessarily go together, and he is putting it together, plus those situational splits and those things that we've talked about before.
Yeah, knowing Bo and going against Bo for a long time myself, and then Coach Dillingham's familiarity with Bo, we knew how athletic Bo is. He's really talented. He's probably as fast a quarterback as there is out there. The guy runs really well, and made some really good decisions there on Saturday to put himself in position where he can run with the ball, but he's done that consistently this season. So no surprise for anybody in our building.
I think I've asked you about kind of the scuffle on the sideline. Did you have to address anything with your players or teams, or is there kind of an understanding of what took place there?
I think everybody understands it's not what we want to be, to do. Everybody wants to protect their teammates, and, you operate in moments of passion, but there's certain ways you handle situations and certain ways you don't, and that's one that we don't want for us. It didn't help us. There was no benefit there. So, yeah, we absolutely addressed it and moving on to it.
Your team, as the season has progressed, you've shown the ability the last few weeks to win and still find areas to improvement and address them, whether it's creating more big plays, tackling better. So when it comes to the penalties, do you feel like you've developed the character the last few weeks to coming off a win and enjoying that and celebrating that, but still your guys are going to focus and be able to clean that up?
Yeah, we've got to improve at it, and we will. But we're working on it. There's accountabilities for every single penalty we had today at practice. There'll continue to be, and we'll keep growing from it. But we can't be a team that has self-inflicted wounds and have the success that we want to do.
Can you talk about Bennett Williams' emergence and, he's kind of having a revenge game against Stanford, not being able to play last year. Can you just talk about his play as of late?
Yeah, Bennett's a really intelligent player. I think he understands what we're trying to do on the field from a schematic standpoint, and then he's played with, we challenged him early this season to play with a brand of physicality there on the perimeter, and he's done that. He's tackled well, done a good job of getting off perimeter blocks, and I think that showed up in this last game.
Which obviously with a lot of those penalties on Saturday, what was kind of the message to the team, or kind of like just did you do really anything different today to kind of just start the week addressing a lot of those penalties?
Yeah, we're just having another standard of accountability when it happens in practice, making sure we identify it right away. We have officials at every single one of our practices. They throw flags just like you'd throw in a game, and we have to coach those moments.
Dan, just wondering if there's anything new with Justin, if it's looking like he might be able to go on Saturday.
Yeah, I think things are trending in the right direction for Justin.
You touched on it earlier, but you guys got a lot of young players on the offensive line in the game, late in the game. What did you really see from them and kind of their development late?
Just you grow through experience, right? So the opportunity to get on the field and get better, that's going to happen through live reps. And you like to think you have those in practice, but it's even easier to see them in game. I think there's some positive and some negative on both ends of that. We rushed for a ton of yards in the game the other night. I know Coach Clem and Coach Dillingham would tell you we can do a lot of things better there on the offensive line. They didn't necessarily feel like that was our best block game up front. That being said, they've had a lot of success all year. They've done a really good job all year. But seeing some of those young guys step in and be able to do the exact same reps that we do in practice, see those show up on the field is really good for us.
You mentioned some of the deep shots that you didn't quite connect on this past week, Dan, beyond the ones that were obvious that either just have to be completed one end of it or the other. The two that were more into somewhat double coverage, I mean, not exactly double coverage, but with quarters like Bo was talking about after the game. Your perspective on that, does he have to either look somewhere else or look to go a little earlier by way of timing, because just to avoid the second defender a little bit better? And
yeah, ball has to be thrown earlier, and we don't want to put the ball in jeopardy, right? If they're in position to get their hands on it at the end, that's not something we want.
4 wins in a row, 3 of those have been blowouts. How do you feel like your team's handled success, not overlooking the next opponent?
Yeah, continue to keep the main thing, right? Playing Oregon, not really an opponent, and that's that's our goal, is to keep improving for us, because we want to be the best version of us at the end of the year.
Just speaking broadly, we're halfway through the season. Just wondering if there's anything that surprised you about being a head coach in the Pac-12, or stands out to you as something unique about being a head coach in the Pac-12 so far.
No, I wouldn't say there is.
Yeah, you've mentioned before that stats don't always tell the whole story, but at the same time, the last couple of games, Noah has really had great stats. What is he doing anything differently these last couple of weeks, or is it just showing up in the stat sheet more?
Yeah, I mean, he's making the plays that come his way, and you can't force yourself to make plays and operate outside of the system. Noah's doing a good job of taking the plays that come his direction, and I think he would tell you there's some things that he's improved on. I think he'd also tell you there's a lot of stuff he can continue to work at. He's a good player when the ball comes his way and he's in a situation where he can make a play, he's going to.
The pass rush in general the last couple weeks gotten home, I think, a little more. You happy with the progression there? And I kind of guess what's the ceiling in terms of improving there?
Yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of that's always going to be based on the team that we're playing, who the quarterback is that we're playing, the front that we're going against. And, some games are going to set up nicer and put yourself in a position where you can actually have more plays on the quarterback and get home a little bit more. Teams that are going to stay in the pocket and throw the ball in a traditional set, or obviously this last game with the slow mesh play that they run. If it's not run and it's not thrown early, then there's going to be a chance for a sack. And I think you saw some of that play out. So it's based on opponent. It's based, a little bit on the schematics, and then it's based on guys winning one-on-ones up front. I thought some of our movements up front were the best that they've been this season, where we were able to play with active hands, and be able to win our one-on-one battles, and that stuck out.
One of your evaluation on 3 guys in the secondary, starting with Christian, because he obviously had his toughest matchup thus far this season. I think he was 2 of 6 when targeted for just 7 yards and the 1 penalty. But you also got Kamari and Jared in there quite a bit in the meaningful snaps. Just what you saw from them, given that they were playing in more meaningful spots than they had so far.
Yeah, just both those guys, if they put in the work in practice, it's something where it's going to get an opportunity to show up in a game, and they've earned our trust. As they continue to develop and get better and better, they're going to get more opportunities. But yeah, I thought Christian did a good job in his reps that he had. I think he'd like to have that penalty back. Not something that's necessary for him, but it's always good for him to get some challenge and opportunities to play the ball.
Your team started their first game after the first week of classes. Have you noticed any differences between the games you played without classes having started, and have you talked to them about how classes have gone so far?
We've certainly talked about class and how it's going. It's probably too early to assess a big difference just with last week being that first week for us. Have to continue to see how we manage our time moving forward, but I think our guys have done a good job of that.
Dan, it seems like Brandon and DJ got a lot of credit on the defensive line. You touched on their improvements earlier. Just what have you seen from Casey Rogers from an interior line perspective, and how has he developed over the year?
Yeah, Casey's trustworthy. He's a coach, really out there on the field. He has a clear expectation of what we're trying to accomplish defensively and understands that. Also a guy that can kind of play in some multiple spots, but his veteran leadership shows up, just a guy that has experience and has done a good job.
You're pretty high on their receiving core, calling them the best you've faced. What makes them that good? What are you seeing on film that makes these guys pretty special?
Well, they have speed, and then really outside they have size, and they make contested catches, right? So if the quarterback can put it close, they have a great chance of winning on 50-50 balls. For them, I don't know if you'd call them 50-50 balls. It's more like 70-30 because they come down with it a lot of the time. And when you play guys like that, it's going to make the play of everybody around them better. And when they can extend the ball downfield, it sets up their run game. It sets up everything else that they do.
Ross James got to punt all game this past game. It had been up in the air for a couple of weeks. Just your thoughts on how he did and the first time as the full-time guy.
I think he had one elite kick. It was really great. Great location on the field. Great hang time and distance. I think he had one kick that we'd love to have back and could do a better job on. That being said, he showed some good consistency in the game.
Has Chris kind of locked down the punt return job, and if so, kind of your assessments on how he's been back there recently?
Number one thing for us is possession of the ball, right? When we go out there, you want to have an opportunity to be able to return kicks, but the biggest thing we want is to have, possession of the ball, and Chris has done a good job of making sure we have possession of the ball.
State of Arizona has been good for you on the recruiting trail. Opportunity to be down there on Friday. Do you expect to go out on the road, or is it kind of like Georgia where you said it was just all business since it was your first road game?
We'll definitely be able to get some of our coaches out to be determined whether or not I'll be able to get out personally, but we'll definitely be able to get some of our coaches on the road.
What makes Hunter Echols particularly effective for them, where he's already, I think, surpassing a lot of the stuff that he did at USC with this opportunity? What allows him and their defense to be as disruptive as he is?
Their front, that's built a little bit off their front. I know their defensive coordinator has a front background as well, but I think they'll play a variety of fronts. They'll be 3 down, they'll be 4 down. They change their blitz packages a good amount. And obviously they try to play to his skill sets, use his talents. He's a good player. He's disruptive, and it shows up.
Dan Lanning, Oregon football head coach, his weekly press conference last night upstairs in the Hatfield-Allen complex. A lot to unpack there. Arizona, good team. Ducks focusing on penalties, getting better in that category, because especially you commit penalties like that on the road against a team like Arizona that has an offense that I would say is further along and better, more productive than Stanford's. You don't want to be shooting yourself in the foot. That's the last thing that you want, particularly on the road. And let's be honest, Arizona's been a tough place to play for Oregon. I got to say, just selfishly, I am glad that this game is now instead of in November. We'll see if H.J. Cohn feels the same way. He's here, ladies and gentlemen, and he looks full. We're back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perish in the line of duty, college scholarships for the children of law enforcement, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on the USDSA and how you can help, visit usdeputy.org.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
Or your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
He's here in all his glory. This is H.J. Cohn. He is the Senior Associate Athletic Director for the Duck Athletic Fund. And somebody asked me last week, I want you to know this, Rob Mullins is on the show. It's Athletic Director Tuesday. And then first comment when Rob's on the show is, where's H.J.?
Oh, jeez, that's a real good thing to have your boss read.
Don't worry, I didn't say it to him.
I thought you were going to say, why did they have Slappy H.J. on Athletic Director Tuesday, but opposite effect, I
Athletic
guess. Well, thank you
in
for
your title.
that, my one fan out there. That's great.
Yeah, well, I thought you'd appreciate
Thanks, sweetheart.
that. Yeah, it was not that. Well, I guess who knows on the internet. But, you know, hey, people like you. I'm just letting you know.
Looks are deceiving. Remember that.
Yeah, okay. How was lunch?
It was fantastic. I'm not going to go through the itemized order because I don't want to divulge about how much Team Dad Bod took to the house today, but it was really good. Carl's Jr. never disappoints.
What fatherly advice do you have for me now at the 7-week mark? What should I know?
In all seriousness, and I think we talked about this offline a little bit, I did not take the opportunity like I should have, personal choice, and look back and reflect back. I wish I would have spent some more time at home right after our daughter was born with Olivia, and did a little bit more with son Henry, but spend as much time, even though it's challenging and there's only so much you can personally do at times, but just being there and being present and being around to support your wife and support your kid is just a moment you never get back, right? And so when you look back, and it's easy now, I'm sitting here, that dad saying, gosh, they grow up so fast. I got a 6- and 5-year-old, and watching other friends' daughters go to homecoming, and it's like, wow, where did that go? I remember holding those kids in my hands. So enjoy every moment of it, even though sometimes they can be challenging when you go through it.
Yeah, I want you to know I tried really hard to take that advice, and I sucked at it. I am dead serious about that. Actually, it's funny that we're talking about this today. I talked to Lizzie about that last night. Like, got home late last night, and I was like, I need to be better at, like, using the actual do not disturb function on my phone.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to know that I'm leaving at 3 o'clock today, and I hope that's okay with everyone, because HJ told me I could.
I think you should. It's funny how kids, parenting, especially first-time parents, you're learning right on the spot too, right? There's all the books you want to read and how to sleep, and there's some funny ones out there that I think back to reading, and but you're learning on the day-to-day of it as well, and it's amazing how much kids can teach adults while you're trying to mold them into your own.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is going to be whether we like it or not, a routine on Duck Insider. I got to ask for fatherly advice because
put a ball in their hand too.
Yes, I already did that.
Start them young.
Let's just say the onesie choice has been has been good.
On point.
Yeah, really well done. That was, man, you're in rare form today. Lunch really, really helped you. You went a long way with our good friends at Carl's Jr. Tell us a little bit about what's going on. What's on your desk these days? A lot of football tickets, I'd imagine. I told fans you were going to give us an update on where we are with football tickets because it's getting close to some sellouts here.
Yeah, football, certainly a ton of excitement surrounding that, particularly at home with Autzen Stadium and the energy that's been brought, especially this year. Whether that's coming out of COVID, the excitement of the team. I've heard a few people comment to me saying, gosh, it's such a fun brand to reconnect with, and we're really excited about that. Autzen Stadium is an incredible home field advantage for us. I don't think it's any secret. We've had some challenges with welcoming other teams, and that's not to say that's the majority of our fan base. The majority of our fan base, students, general fans, single game purchasers, season ticket purchasers, parents, have been extremely welcoming. It's unfortunate that some of it's been tarnished by a small group. With that being said, we have some of the best, if not the best, traveling fans to opposing games in the country, certainly the Pac-12. And we see that, and that's a huge deal for us, whether it's going down to the Bay Area and our alums come out locally or travel with them, Arizona and so forth. And we hope to go to those communities, spend disposable income, support our student athletes, and feel welcomed and respected. And I hope we can continue to focus on that with Autzen Stadium. Incredible home field advantage. I mean, the numbers don't lie, right? And our next home game, UCLA, welcoming them back for homecoming. So they're having a great season, as are we. And so expect that to sell out. We're pretty close. We're going to start or continue, I guess, to educate people on how many tickets we have left, but we are expecting a sellout for that game, and that's coming soon. And then the only other two home games left on the docket are UW and Utah back-to-back in November. So exciting, good problem to have for us with limited tickets. I would encourage you to not wait around if you're kind of on the fence of I might go to that game or waiting to see what time kickoff's at. I understand that, but I would recommend getting them, especially for UCLA, and then those final two are really trending well as well.
Well, and I don't want to jump the gun here, so I'm saying this, not you, okay? This weekend, if things go well for the Ducks in Tucson, UCLA has a nice weekend. Might be a big-time game that, maybe a big-time national show would want to show up for. Anything to add to that?
Go Ducks.
Great. H.J. Cohn is with us, Senior Associate Athletic Director. UCLA, last I knew, tickets were still starting at about $72, and that's close to a sellout, which is awesome. H, I wanted to ask you this because it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about the sellout streak, right? Mm-hmm. And certainly the world's changed. Mm-hmm. The entire college football landscape has definitely been part of that change. But getting back to that idea of the sellout and that electric environment, it's really cool for me coming out of COVID to see a great environment like you were alluding to. And certainly we can be better as a fan base. I say that. I've been saying that. But having that electric environment, man, that's something special at Autzen Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, from a kid that grew up going here and that a professional that works with multitude of generations of alums, there's stories of you could sit in one end zone and see your kids at the other one playing around, right? And so you go back and you look how far we've really come, and certainly notable events, the Independence Bowl in '89, the Rose Bowl, and then you just continue on and on, right? Alternatively, you're right, college football has changed. I mean, the number one team, you could argue in the last 10 to 15 years in Alabama, struggles to keep their fans there, students included. And coaches have, in my opinion, paid a lot more attention to that, been public about it because of the home field advantage that it provides. Yeah. And we are absolutely in that same boat. All that said, I mean, our energy and attendance this year and the feel, I mean, I looked out last week. I know it was an 8 p.m. kick, but we also had a chance to do the light show to Coming Home with Matt Carney. And just the electricity that provided in the venue and the in-game atmosphere that you can't get on TV in that case. Shout is just continuing to gain more and more momentum. My Coach Lanning's trying to get his hands around that and what that means because it's kind of taken on a life of its own in a good way, and he certainly embraces it. But, no, the energy at Autzen is just something special. And it's not only for our student athletes that are playing right then and there. We have recruits that are coming in. We have families that are coming in. We have students that feed off it and create it. So it's a holistic effort that really makes this environment something special.
So I'm going to tell you something cool. I had been thinking about this right around what I'll call the Troy Dye season for Shout, we all remember what that was like. Troy Dye famously was on the Coach's Show with us, and if you want to go back and just have a great old time listening to Troy Dye, go back and look for the Coach's Show that he was on in 2019, because he made that environment, I think, take that next step, because the student athletes were so into it. It really, I thought, helped catapult the tradition of Shout. That's my opinion. I don't know how you feel. You can interject.
No, absolutely. It's funny how some of these things take on a life of their own.
Yeah.
Right. The Shout, certainly with Troy, was a fixture in that and creating kind of this new excitement around it. You know, when you factor in, and this is dating back years now, but bringing the pick into the intro of Autzen Stadium.
People
you
love it.
say, let's throw a Harley out there. That's a crazy idea. It's kind of our thing now. I've seen other schools do it, but it's kind of our thing. Again, all those little things add to the game day environment.
And so what I wanted to hit on is I had been thinking about it during that season where TV always takes a commercial break, right? And I thought, like, man, for so many people that aren't here in the venue, maybe on the radio broadcast, we're the hometown crew. Maybe we don't take that commercial break. You know, we rearrange the format. Well, I'm thinking about this, and then COVID. We don't have fans. Not going to do it then. Thought about it this year. Kind of was like, I don't know. Yeah, we won't change it. We'll keep it the way we're doing it. I want you to know that I got 3 different emails from people this week saying, hey, have you guys ever thought about this? You guys ever thought about not taking that commercial break on the radio broadcast, because Shout is so cool and those of us who can't be there want to be involved in it? I got to tell you, H, that I was like, man, that is something. That's cool to hear that from people.
Well, it's kind of fun when you look back and, Twitter or social media can really amplify some of these opportunities that one might not see if they had gone to the traditional internet or whatever speaking. Is, some of the greatest radio calls is silence from the broadcaster.
That's right.
You hear, and some of them, I mean, certainly a ton of them are obviously the voiceovers and, what you guys are doing play-by-play and stuff. But when you think about a home run that gets hit and it's called, and then you just stop and just watch and just hear the fans, it's like some of those greatest calls ever, and maybe that's what Shout should be.
Exactly. I think you're right. I mean, I'm of the opinion that the best play-by-play broadcasters, their true art is knowing when to shut up. That's honestly I think the art of it. And God, Jerry and Jorgie are so good at that.
They are.
Because they'll just let it go. But anyway, I heard from a couple people. Tobiah was one who's an avid commenter on Duck Insider. Tobiah sent me that note. Very nice note. Thank you, Tobiah. That was like, hey, I would love that. Like, that's amazing when you think about the environment. All right, we haven't even talked about basketball. Haven't even checked in on golf. Before we get off the football topic, what else should fans know on football? Anything that we forgot?
No, not necessarily looking ahead. I would say we're really excited to welcome back football reunion and alumni this last weekend, and a wonderful turnout, and kudos to Ashley and Michael DeLagrange and Jeff Eberhardt for really helping to orchestrate that in partnership with Oregon Athletics. Really a cumulative effort on both parts, and it really just came together very nicely. And despite a later kickoff, still the turnout was great. But just being able to bring those who poured so much into this program, and a lot of them can't get back to all the games, so they really circle this one on the map every year and on the calendar and say, hey, I'm going to make an effort to get back. I was talking to one guy. He had to leave at 4 a.m. to get back for a father-daughter event that night in California. He drove up, so he's like, but you know what? 8 p.m. I'll get on the road later on and make a few pit stops and be back, but I really wanted to come see my brothers, and so it was really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. One thing I didn't know I was going to ask you this, and I think it's something that I should talk about more on the show, actually. But there are so many, and I don't even know the proper word to use here, but I would say auxiliary groups to Oregon Athletics that make a lot of these events happen. Can you touch on that a little bit, just like for fans that maybe are unaware of the groups that help put these sorts of events on that are so connected to this place?
Yeah, there's a number of them. I mean, certainly in-house events happen quite a bit. We just had our Hall of Fame induction, and Lauren Crockett really leads that charge for us. But when you talk about boost organizations or groups that are associated with the department, Order the O, the Oregon Clubs, Daisy Ducks, there's a handful of them. And so when you look at all of that and the roles they play, it's hard to put down on paper exactly where they're involved. I mean, Jeff Hawkins, who's been here for a while with us in the department, has ambassadors, and what the role they play. It initially started at Hatfield Dowling. Now it's transitioned to Marcus Mariota Sports Performance Center, Hayward Field, General Tours. And so there's just a number of groups that, allow us to go full steam ahead, and it would not be possible without them.
Pretty cool to have a program that people want to learn about. Yeah, that's what it's all about. H.J. Cohn's with us in the Country Financial Studio. I got a lot more bullet points for him. I hope he's ready. Are you?
Sounds good. I'm ready. Fire away.
Great. We're going to have a burger when we come back on the Oregon
Take a
Sports
quick nap
Network
here
from
during this
Learfield.
break.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We're back inside the Country Financial Studio. Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. H.J. Cohn is our guest. I'm happy to have given him a reason to have a burger for lunch today.
Yes, sir. My favorite tradition.
It's a good tradition. It's a great
I like to
tradition.
come on every Tuesday to have that excuse to go over there and dive on in.
Sometimes I got to talk to the big man. Got to talk to Rob Mullins.
I hear you.
You know, every now and then. There's a few other folks. And hey, how about Lisa Peterson? I haven't asked you about that. That's such a cool opportunity for one of the other corner office folks, as I like to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally thrilled for Lisa, and professionally for that matter. She's acted as we'll call it a brother-sister relationship, and we bicker and fight and love and all the above. But it's our friendship over the years, and when you start to look back, you're like, wow, you've been through a lot. Challenging pieces professionally and been there for each other personally, and she's seen my kids grow up a little bit, and so just to from a personal standpoint, thrilled for her. Obviously someone you never want to lose, but also want to encourage to continue to grow, and doing something she's really passionate about. Still going to see a lot of her, being that she's going to be with the conference, involved in a lot of sports. So it's a see you later, not a goodbye.
Yeah, and that's what I told her too. And she's actually going to be on the show next Tuesday for sort of what I've told her jokingly is like her exit interview.
Yeah,
but we'll probably have her on again. What should I ask her?
I don't know. You might not be able to air out all that dirty laundry she's going to bring here, so you guys might need to find some other clips to splice in there. But I would ask her. I wouldn't hone in on what's your number one moment, but just some key moments that she can reflect on the field, on the court, whatever it may be, and then just personally, not maybe something that people might not know, whether that's a friendship that was formed or whatever it may be, a moment that she felt, her impact helped this department and helped student athletes beyond belief.
I'm writing that down. I just want you to know that.
Good deal.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. H.J. Cohn joining us. Hey, basketball season is going to be here before we know it. We're in the month where there is going to be a basketball game played, a women's basketball exhibition played in the month of October. Some other things going on for men's basketball. We'll have more on that during the bye week next week on Duck Insider. I'm excited for this season, H. I mean, this is going to be a pair of really good teams in Matthew Knight Arena again.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for the particularly the head coaches, but all the coaches and staff in those two programs a chance to, you have what the new era of the transfer portal and kids coming and going. And so I think there's a new identity to both teams. Of course, there's still some returners, absolutely, but some new faces that I think have a chance to create a special year on both fronts. And I don't just say that tongue-in-cheek of, let's try and get bodies there. I really do think both of those programs have a chance to be great this year. The men had the benefit of going on an overseas tour or foreign tour up to Canada and had some great success up there. And while it's good that we were able to watch them online and win, their 5 games, the benefit really comes with outside the court and outside the competition of, the extra practices you get. I think you get 10 or 15 extra practices. And then just the culture experience to travel up there, particularly for men who have a kind of a nice recruiting pipeline. Kudos to Coach Menninga up there and his connections. And just all of that, when you factor that in, can really set the foundation for a season that they didn't really have the chance to set the foundation for in previous years due to COVID. And Coach Altman alluded to that, of the spring and summer that were kind of taken away is critical. And that's when no one sees the work that's being done behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just to look at some of the teams in all sports around Oregon athletics, that's obviously just my lens to look at this. But it seems like the seasons where you have those foreign tours, those tend to be some of the better seasons that the teams have, Practice helps.
Yep, absolutely. So very excited. Got a great schedule as well on both fronts. And so we're going to be starting to really get out there of the opportunities for fans to come out and support them. We also got PK85 coming up in Portland on both men's and women's. And so some great competition. I sometimes struggle with, we're so caught up in football and school's back and fans that people tend to forget, like, hey, Duck fans, we're coming to Portland.
Yep.
We're coming to your territory. We're coming to your turf. We want you guys to come out and see 2 great programs, coaching-wise, just incredible staffs led by, Dana and Kelly, and a chance to be right in your backyard to come watch some top-tier basketball on both fronts.
Yeah, and to that note, it's a holiday weekend too. It's not going to overlap with the football game. That's been changed, right? We moved that game, and that's why, because then you get a chance to enjoy all of the basketball, all of the college football as well. I'm glad that you mentioned the Portland tournament. Hey, we all know that's a great thing to do for Phil Knight. I imagine that you know him better than I do, but I imagine that that's something that he appreciates, and he probably means a lot to him that there's a chance to play a tournament in his name.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's not a guy that's about him.
Right.
But with the collaboration with Nike and the amount of college basketball schools they have a partnership with, and to do it in really the backyard of Nike and really where Phil and Penny are from, is a way to give back and say thanks. And it's really a way to say thank you more than utilize their name for any marketing or branding. But just a way to say thank you and give back. And a number of those schools and a number of those coaches have known them personally for a number of years. And so when you add all that up and say, hey, how can we do something special? What do you get Phil Knight for his birthday? It's hard. And so this is a unique present to give back to them.
Yeah, can confirm he would be difficult to shop for, right? Yeah, that makes sense. H.J. Cohn joining us. Hey, I had a couple of fans ask about a check-in on the golf program. Give us an update on the Jake, if you could. A lot of people have been asking me about that over the last few weeks.
Yeah, unfortunately, not a ton to update. I wish there was more. Ideally, we were trying to break ground at one point and early on before the season turns over from going into fall and ultimately winter when you're factoring in construction. And it's just taking a little bit longer, and we're working through that. We still are moving full steam ahead. Now, what the timing looks like might be a little bit different than we had initially anticipated. But that all being said, we are moving ahead. We've got just incredible partners involved in the project from Emerald Valley and from the contracting side, and then ultimately the donor side. It's all privately funded. We are not taking out any debt on the project. I think that's important to note. To discuss, and again, privately funded, and we're pretty much to our goal. We still got a little bit to go, and every dollar counts. I mean, we're talking, there's obviously some outlier and larger gifts, but a $25 gift to the project and just participation to support the men's, women's golf programs and those coaches. And we really think that the Jake, when it's completed, and you start seeing kids and student athletes utilize it, can really improve their game. It's one thing to go out and play 18 holes every day and compete, we're fortunate we have 3 courses that we're able to use around here with Emerald Valley, Shadow Hills, and Eugene Country Club. But this is going to allow them to really hone in on specific areas of their game that each individual thinks they need to focus on and improve on. And when you look around the country, who they're competing against, not only recruiting, but in these tournaments, this is what they have. Not necessarily to this standard, we hope, but we hope this is really going to be cutting edge and provide a great opportunity. But it'll add value to both the men's and women's programs and what they can do.
One thing that I wanted to hit on with that is just the fact that it is such a easy thing to forget. The little bit counts, right? And I'm glad that you said that. So for fans that are like, hey, actually, I want to give that $25, where do you send them?
Yeah, so we have a website called Duck Funder. It's kind of like a GoFundMe concept, but it outlines all the projects. It's a University of Oregon website, so there are multiple campaigns on there. The Jake is one of them, and very simple, easy process, way to give philanthropically, and it kind of gives you all the details as it pertains to the Jake in this case.
There you go. See, that's why I bring him on the show. He's the expert. What else is on your desk? What else should fans know?
Just trying to get ahead of things. I mean, we're excited that if we can get UCLA sold out early on and start to put some attention towards the remaining 2 home games, start to put attention towards season ticket renewals, new season tickets to get, if you want to come to the last 2 home games and you want to get tickets for next year, we can get you those tickets right now and lock you in. So trying to create opportunities for everyone to come in and see what we feel is a really good product and a great venue.
He's H.J. Cohn, Senior Associate Athletic Director, Duck Athletic Fund. Well
Thank
done.
you. Thanks for having me.
Do we miss anything?
No. That's all I got.
It's a good day. You going to go back for round 2?
I have a lot to go back on my desk for. Unfortunately, Carlos Jr. is not one of them.
Okay.
It's already been taken care of.
Hey, thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Always appreciate
it.
When we come back, Bo Nix. Going to hear from the Duck quarterback after practice today on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Chris Jakimick, I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. You heard from Dan Lanning, heard from H.J. Cohn. Now let's hear from the Duck quarterback, Bo Nix. He met with the media after practice today, breaking down this Arizona team.
Can you say that again?
Dan this week talked about how you just needed to get the ball out earlier on some of those deep throws from Saturday. Just what have you been working on this week of practice?
Yeah, I mean, we got quite a few shots. Obviously, every once in a while you kind of miss one, so regroup and go to the next one.
you were really able to get some plays with your legs last game. Arizona defensively, it seems like maybe they're a little susceptible there. Does that feel like something to focus on this week as well?
Yeah, every game we want to use kind of our resources, what we got. Every game I want to do a good job of running when it's there and doing my job, and at the same time when the shot's not there, using my legs. And so we're going to have the same type game plan, do everything we can, get the ball downfield, and then just kind of improvise.
You guys talked at all about Arizona's environment. I know Washington State was a tough one. I think Arizona's another one that provides some problems. Have you had the conversations?
Yeah, we've talked about it, and obviously it's been good that we played at Wazoo because it kind of got us started, and we've had some good away games so far this year, some loud ones, and so I think that's going to pay off for us.
You've played in tough road environments throughout your career, and there was places where things were attached, whether it was LSU or Georgia or even Wazoo here. If you hadn't played there, people around here. There are a lot of guys, the fan base has probably more of a feeling of dread about Arizona historically, but virtually no one here has actually played. Does it help in a situation like this where a lot of you guys really don't know what you don't know?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, at the end of the day, we just got to go in there and play hard and play physical and not kill ourselves. And these kind of away games are tough because it is a good opponent. It's going to be a good competition. It's going to be a good atmosphere. And so you got to go in there really sharp and not do anything that's going to hurt yourself.
How do you explain that you lead the country in passing yards in the red zone, and you're also like the third highest in rushing yards among quarterbacks? Like usually those two things don't usually necessarily go together. How have you been able to accomplish that so far?
Well, it's been straight scheme, and coaches, they've put us in a great situation to do those things. And we've had a good plan once we've gotten to the red zone. And then at the end of the day, an 80-yard run just helps in a lot of those categories. I think it's kind of it kind of skews those a little bit. But obviously, though, we take what we get, and whenever those kind of plays are there to be made, it's important that we make them. And so, like I said, it just goes back to scheme in the red zone and completing passes to where our guys can make plays.
On the penalties bit, when you talk about like the on-field cadence you talking about after the game, how do you go about addressing that this week? I don't think you get to everything and tell the defense what you're doing, but I mean, like certain things by way of like, do you change the cadence that much more in practice?
Yeah, it's just all about concentration, and we know the cadence, and so that's not necessarily the issue. It's just concentrating, locking in, and making sure we're focusing on that, and not letting the outside noise affect us.
In a weird way, can being on the road louder make it easier to have those sort of, like maybe you're using more hand gestures as opposed to verbal cadence?
It's tougher on the road for sure with cadence. You don't normally see as many penalties as we had at home on Saturday, so that's wouldn't necessarily make that, like, we're not going to do that a whole lot. And so hopefully going on the road, it'll just refocus us, put us back on the right things, get our ears listening to the right things, and then we'll be good to go.
The man downfield penalty, it's just becoming more and more common with RPO stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can do in those spots?
Yeah.
Do you feel like do you feel an onus, or is that just like?
There's a few things. It's like you said, with the way football's going, RPO game, that stuff happens in offenses. You just kind of got to embrace it and be okay with it. The things that you can do to limit it is just get the ball out early on time, and then try to not just get pull happy and just try to throw it all the time. Like, we do a good job of, if the run's there, we run the ball a lot, make people come down in the box and play us. But then at the same time, every once in a while you get a penalty like that, and it's just an O-lineman being aggressive. Try to make some different calls to kind of tell the O-lineman that it could be in between, so maybe don't just run downfield. But like I said, it just happens with our offense.
What were you thinking when you got that 80-yard run? I mean, when did you know that you were getting the score? And was it more like you were running for the end zone or just running for your life?
Well, I didn't know I was going to score until I crossed the goal line, just because you never know what's going to happen. You never know if there's a penalty or anything like that. But fortunately, I was able to get out in the open field, and there was a lot of grass to run. And then my receivers and tight ends did a good job of blocking down the field. And we talk about all the time effort without the ball and how do you play without it. And those guys showed it on video, and that's what kind of sprung the 80-yarder.
What have you seen from this Arizona defense so far?
They're extremely athletic. They do a lot of different things defensively, which can kind of be confusing for guys. But I feel confident with our O-line and the experience they have of just kind of settling in and making calls and going with it. And at the same time, we're going to have a good game plan. And so they're going to be a good team. They're going to present some challenges. We just got to do our best to kind of avoid the negatives. And I feel confident if we do that, we'll be able to move the ball.
They're saying that Turner, the safety who didn't play last week, they're hopeful that he'll be able to play this week. Just if he is able to go for them, he's one of their better players. But how important is if they do have?
Well, anytime you have a starter out, it's not good for your team. So, I mean, for them, I imagine they'd love to have him out on the field. And so at the end of the day, we're just going to continue to do the same thing. They're going to run the same defense with or without him. So it's just all about the awareness of if he's out there or not, and just the experience that he'll bring when he's on the field.
With the exception of Georgia and obviously Washington State, how important is it for you guys to get off to a fast start and get those points on the board early?
Yeah, it's extremely important. Whenever we've been able to get some first downs, whenever we haven't had a penalty on a drive, our touchdown rate's extremely high. And so we know that. We just got to go out there and execute.
The touchdown to Troy Franklin on Saturday night, seemingly was a broken play. You were able to find him, and he made a spectacular catch, of course, in the end zone. Can you maybe touch on the connection you've gained with Troy and some of the other receivers in the core, like Chase or Chris?
Yeah, Troy's a baller. He really is one of those guys that he's a gamer, and when the lights turn on, he just shows up, and he's constant all the time. And he makes big, explosive plays, as we saw 2 weeks ago, and then obviously that really good catch he made at the goal line this week. You don't see that a whole lot. And to be honest, when I threw it, I was expecting either a throwaway or he'd have to make a crazy catch, and that's what he did. And so I was really pleased with that, just his effort. He's really turned it on this year, and he started to play like a veteran. And obviously with Chase and Chris kind of to back him up, adds two more explosive guys. And we saw Chase with the screen. Not many people knew he could run that fast. But I think he just adds that veteran on our team, on the receiver squad, that kind of helps those guys out.
Troy seems really advanced for his year in terms of the details, like the foot drag, some of the stuff he does on the sideline. Is that something that comes with hard? Like, does that?
Yeah, well, he's a very savvy guy. I'm sure coming out of high school, he was like that, and it's one of those things you can't really teach. You guys either got it or they don't. And he's a really good, smart football player. I think he's got great football instincts. That's one of the best things he has, and that allows him to be even better on the field. So when you put his talent with his instincts and his awareness, he's just able to do things like that. Like on Saturday, he knew exactly where he was on the field. He knew exactly how he was going to catch the ball, and he was anticipating the catch. And so things like that just make into great plays and great players. And so I expect a lot out of Troy because he's shown so much already, and he's proven that he can handle a lot.
I'm sure you're not going to be looking too much for Eccles throughout plays for them, but when you have a linebacker that disruptive, particularly when it's off the blind side of things, does that change in terms of just even mentally knowing you may not be able to cut back that direction if that guy's there? As confident as you are in TJ or something?
Yeah, no, not really. I think, our game plan, they don't do anything necessarily outrageous, so our game plan is going to take care of a lot, and then their football instincts are going to show up after the play is already going, and that's kind of what makes it a good competitive game. And so we know that, and obviously they know it too. They still got to tackle us and bring us to the ground.
Bo Nix, Oregon football quarterback, after practice today. He's been really good running the ball. He's been very efficient. All good things for a quarterback, right? It's a 6 o'clock kickoff against Arizona. More on that game coming up, and we'll tell you what's coming on the show tomorrow. It's going to be a busy one. We're back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Duck fans, ski season will be here before you know it. Hoodoo Ski Area, your locally owned and operated destination for winter fun, a proud, long-time sponsor of Oregon Athletics. It's the Oregon football bye week next week. We're going to zero in on Duck softball, a little bit of Duck baseball, as they both are now into their fall seasons. And, of course, basketball is upcoming. We'll talk a little bit more about those programs tomorrow as well. Dan Lanning, Oregon football head coach, will meet with the media after practice tomorrow. We'll lead the show with that. Rob Mosley will be with us, and also Matt Omer, Oregon volleyball head coach, slated to be with us. Today, we didn't get to Bucky Irving, and we didn't get to Troy Franklin, and a number of other Oregon football student athletes are going to meet with the media here tomorrow. So that's going to be tomorrow's show. That's also going to be a little bit of Thursday's show. We're also looking to connect with Brian Jeffries, the voice of the Wildcats, talk a little bit about this matchup. 6 o'clock kickoff again. This is a big-time game for the Ducks. Again, it's going on the road. You know, they got off to a little bit of a slow start against Washington State. We saw that. They ended up kicking some field goals, kind of got themselves in a hole, had to score 29 points in the fourth quarter. Can't rely on that, particularly when you're on the road. Thought they took a step forward against Stanford, improved in the pass defense. But this, as you heard Bo Nix talk about and Dan Lanning talk about, I think is a better team. And particularly as it pertains to Oregon's offense, I think that this is an Arizona defense that they should be able to score points against, like they did against Stanford, like they did against Washington State, like they've done it against pretty much everybody. But I think this is also a better offense that Arizona brings to the table. It's a bigger test for Oregon's pass defense than Stanford was. Different kind of test, not just the big receiver winning the jump ball. I think there's more in this test, and maybe another advancement in class, if you will, for Oregon's defensive backs. I want to talk a little bit more about that with the defensive guys tomorrow. We'll see you then on Duck Insider.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration,